going on, Carson Crew, back with another video, and this time I'm really excited to start a new series with you guys. It's called Know Your Enemy, where we take an enemy concept or enemy itself and we go into a deep dive of it. And today we're talking about ALACRYAN magic, and I'm super excited about it. We're going to break it down into 3 different topics: the awakening process, the different types of mages between the continents, and the magic itself. Subscribe to your boy for more beginning after the end videos. Now let's go. Now, when it comes to the difference between ALACRYAN and Decathian awakenings, we should have a pretty good understanding of how the Decathian awakening process works, because that is literally the only one we have seen thus far in the story. But if you are new, let's review. I really wish there was more to the Decathian awakening than there is. Matter of fact, it is basically luck of the draw along with genetics. Every mage in the entire world has a mana core. If you do not have a mana core, that means you're not a mage. Now, between the ages of 11 and 12, the mana core forms in a Decathian mage. If you do not form that mana core within that time period, then you are not a mage. It is literally like a lottery. For every 100 people in Decathian, there is one mage that awakens. So it is literally a lottery pick. There is no more to it. There is nothing you can do to improve your standings unless you're the MC that came from a different world, that has a different process for manually forming his core. But unless you were him, there is nothing you can do. Now, ALACRYAN's awakenings are a little bit different because every ALACRYAN is born with a mana core, but it is dormant. Now, every year, once a year, they go to a ceremony called a bestowals. Every child goes to this bestowal. There is a mage with a magical staff. He puts that magical staff on your spine. If that magic resonates with that person's body, they become a mage. It is literally that simple. Either you are a mage or you are not. The ALACRYAN children have 3 chances to become a mage. By the 3rd time, if they fail again, they're labeled unadorned, which means that they have no magic, and they're now allowed to try the process again. Now, you would think that with this process, they might be able to make more mages, and that is true. For every 100 people in ALACRYAN, there are 20 mages that awaken through this process. So in a war between ALACRYAN and Decathian, where the ratio is literally for every 1 mage, there are 20 mages in ALACRYAN, that Decathian is probably going to be in trouble. But there are some other reasons why ALACRYAN and Decathian are a little bit more evenly matched than you might think. Now, when it comes to the differences in magic between Decathian and ALACRYAN, it is literally night and day. The Decathian mages are only limited by their imagination, their core level, and elemental affinity. What that means is that pick any magical system that you see in any other series, manga or anime, and they can replicate it in some way. Now, could they do a Chidori? 100%. Could they do anything that Aang did in the Avatar state? Yes, sir, they can. Could they do something like Deku and All Might with All for One? 100% they could. So when it comes to the mages of ALACRYAN, remember the bestowals I talked about? The ceremony where they become mages? Now, they get a singular rune, and that singular rune is a singular spell. It is not multiple spells that they do with this singular rune. It is a singular spell. Now, before I get into that, we're going to talk about the rune system. It goes from weakest to strongest in this order: marks, crest, emblems, and regalias. No matter which rune they get, it is still a singular spell. Now, let's talk about Pokemon terms. Let's just say a mage gets flamethrower. That flamethrower will never be Ember. It will never be Flame Dance. It will never be Eruption. It will always be flamethrower, and that is the only thing that rune is able to do. It is flamethrower. Now, marks are able to turn into crest. That means that these runes can evolve. Now, with that evolution means that that flamethrower, they might be able to put around their entire body, like the Human Torch, or they might be able to put flamethrower on their weapons. But it does not mean that that spell turns into something different. Now, the more runes they get, the more magical abilities they have, and the stronger their core gets. But the only way to get more runes is go to that bestowal process, which means the country has to deem that you did something good enough to go back through that process over and over again to get the ability to get more runes. Doesn't mean that you will get another rune. It just means that you have the ability to get another one, which means that you have another spell. Now I'm going to ask you, which one is better? Is it better to have less mages but your magical spells are less limited? Or is it better to have 20 times more mages but the magical abilities are so limited that you only have singular spells they can use? I'll allow you guys to talk about that down in the comment section. So now let's transition over to the different types of mages. Now the only reason I include this is because the ALACRYAN mage system is totally different than what we've seen before. But if you don't remember Decathlon mage system, let's review. Now the Decathlon mage system is set up in two classes, either you're an augmenter or you're a conjurer, which basically means short range magic versus long range magic. Now, when you get into the upper stages of your core, which is light yellow to silver to white, it doesn't really matter because you're able to use both forms of magic, long range and short range, interchangeably, and the person's not going to know whether or not you are a conjurer or augmenter to begin with. Now, ALACRYAN magic, once again, is totally different because of their runes. Now, when it comes to ALACRYAN mage, they do things a lot differently because they have so many shortcomings when it comes to magic. Now, they have a singular spell depending on their runes, and are not able to imbue their body with mana, which means they can't make their muscles stronger with mana, which means that they are inherently just humans with magic, and they're not able to put a layer of protective mana over their body, so any type of weapon or magic will affect them negatively. Now, when it comes down to their different classes of mages, they have their strikers, which is basically close range fighters. They have their casters, which are basically the same thing as conjurers, which is long range magic. They have their shields, which basically means exactly what you think it does. It means that they're able to put a shield around themselves or their teammates. And they have sentries, which are almost like deviant mages. They're able to sense magic on the battlefield and able to psychically connect and talk to their teammates no matter where they are on the battlefield. When it comes to a 1v1 battle between one mage from one continent versus another, usually you're going to give it to the Decathlon mage because of their variety of magic they can use and the ability to put a layer of magic over their body and imbue themselves with magic. Usually the Decathlon mage is going to win, but they're not as used to fighting in a team setting like the ALACRYAN mages are. To make up for the deficiencies that they have a 4 to 5 man team, and they are so used to being in that team, learning each other's strategies and making up for that other person's shortcoming, that when it comes to a team of ALACRYAN mages versus a team of Decathlon mages, yes, Decathlon has more firepower than the ALACRYAN mages might have, but at the same time they're able to make up for the deficiencies. And if it comes to a team battle, 9 times out of 10, unless you have a silver core mage or a white core mage on your side, the ALACRYAN mages will win that battle. Would you rather be a Decathlon mage who has less limits on his abilities, but at the same time you have to scratch and claw and hope to God you live long enough to get to the higher stages to be able to use those abilities? Or would you rather be the ALACRYAN mage, which you have a higher chance of becoming a mage, but you have the rune-based system? Put that in the comments down below. I will see you guys in the next beginning after the video. We start talking about the retainers. Till next time, peace.